On. All right, now let's get the mic on. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show, the K-More Sports Report. Titans, the day after a huge AFC divisional win over the Indianapolis Colts, 25-16. We'll break it all down. We'll look at everything that went on in the ball game last night. We got a huge show for you tonight. We're going to try to cram it all into 1 hour. So if you got comments, get those in often and early in the comment section, and we'll get things going. So as we do, let's start it off this way. First and foremost, let's take care of the housekeeping duties. If you want to donate to the show, you can do so. If you have a Venmo account, you can donate at Kenneth-Moore-8667, kind of like a super chat, not really a super chat, but has the same value as a super chat if you want to donate to the show. Then, of course, the main way to participate in the show, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, share the video out, hit that notification bell. We want to continue to grow the channel and get it up to epic standards. So we have a lot to get to tonight. All your comments and suggestions are welcome. We're going to look at, obviously, the good, the bad, the concerning. We're going to look at the remaining Titans schedule through the month of October compared to that of the Indianapolis Colts. We're all going to take a sneak peek at the Kansas City Chiefs. Those Chiefs are struggling. Maybe open up the AFC for someone else to get that number 1 seed. So we'll take a look and see how the Titans are looking as far as that is concerned as well. And then also, we're going to look at our Pick 6 predictions. We've been doing a great job with the Pick 6 predictions so far this year. So we're going to take a look at that as well. And we're going to get those out of the way early. So in case you guys bet on any games yesterday, in case you guys have been betting on games throughout the season, we have done really good with our Pick 6 predictions. And then let's go ahead and take a look at those real quick before we dive deep into the Titans and Colts. So we went 3-3 on yesterday. On the season, we're still a very good 11-6-1. We picked Arizona. They struggled a little bit with Jacksonville on yesterday, but Arizona covered that 7.5-point spread. Vegas, they had a double-digit lead. They nearly let it slip away. Jacoby Brissett leading a comeback for Miami. It went to overtime. So Vegas wins by 3, but we lose that game because they did not cover the 3.5. Tampa, we picked as well to beat the Rams. The Rams won that game outright. The Rams looking very good. A lot of people picked them as Super Bowl contenders. I was a little bit leery on the Rams, but hey, they're showing me a lot so far. The New Orleans Saints, we expected them to bounce back against New England. They did so. The Patriots are struggling right now with Mac Jones. They're 1-2 on the season. So we cover with the Saints. And this was my lock of the day. The Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are struggling right now. The Chiefs 1-2 on the season. And the game they won, they barely won in week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. The Chiefs could very easily be 0-3. They are a team that you really don't want to put a lot of money on if you're betting right now. They barely cover the spread. They don't blow teams out every week. And I believe this week they're already a 6-point spread against whoever they're playing. So easy if you're betting the Kansas City Chiefs. They have given up the most points in the NFL this season. Yeah, more than the Tennessee Titans. They've given up more points than the Jets. They've given up more points than the Jaguars. So stay away from Kansas City. And we lost the Indianapolis game. We picked them to cover against Tennessee, the 5.5 points. Obviously, Tennessee won that game by 9 points. So we went 3-3 on yesterday. No big deal. Still way ahead of the curve, 11-6-1 on the season. So there we are as far as the Pick 6 predictions. Let's get you guys comments in here early, and then we'll look at what's going on with the rest of the show. Ryan Harris in the house. What's up? Always glad to have you in the show, my man. My boy Upload loves that shirt. Yeah, man, this was actually a birthday shirt for me. So I decided to pull it out in honor of Love You Blue weekend and the Titans coming out on top yesterday. So definitely appreciate the love on the shirt there. Clowney Super Bowl. Ola has looked better than Dupree so far. Well, Dupree didn't play yesterday. And we're going to talk about Ola Adeniyi. I believe that's how you pronounce it, Adeniyi. He had a tremendous ball game. He's been a surprise coming over from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Didn't come over with a lot of fanfare, so he's done in a lot of good there. The Chiefs are desperate. They're bringing in Josh Gordon. Titan Upload just informed me. I saw Adam Schefter post that earlier. Now, what does this mean? They lost Sammy Watkins, obviously. He's with the Ravens now. But the Chiefs and Josh Gordon is from Houston. Okay. So I got to give Josh Gordon a lot of credit. This is why. This is a guy that's been in and out of the league probably for the last 6 years or so. But every time he comes into the league, guess what? He's cashing $100,000 checks every week, every year. He's cashing checks bigger than ours, and he's only on a team for probably 4 or 5 weeks. He'll probably get suspended by week 8, but guess what? He would have cashed 7 game checks by then. So shout out to Josh Gordon for continuing to cash those game checks. Shout out to him. Titan Anderson in the house. TA, what's up, man? Thanks for joining the show. Always glad to have you in the house. Titans 242 _ Titans is in the house. Titans need to start faster. First drive, every game, 3 and out. It's almost like the Titans don't practice that first series. I don't know if Todd Downing doesn't have the first 15 plays scripted like most offensive coordinators do. But yeah, the first drive of every half, not even to mention every game, every half, it seems like the Titans go 3 and out. They're kind of like an old Buick. It just kind of takes, you got to crank it, and you finally get it started up. And once they get revving, they get revving. So I'm definitely going to get to more of you guys' comments in the comments section. Let's go ahead and get into the show. So the Titans come up with a big 25-16 victory on yesterday. And a couple of things that stood out for me, first and foremost, was the aggressive nature of Mike Vrabel. Vrabel went for 2 points early in the fourth quarter. Now, it's a lot of people don't know the math on this, but if you're up 1 in the fourth quarter, and my rule of thumb has been less than 8 minutes to go, you score a touchdown, you go up 7, you go ahead and go for the 2-point conversion and hopefully push it to 9 to make it a 2-possession game, because now that puts tremendous pressure on the opponent where they have to score twice in a short period of time. I rarely seen a coach do it with 12 and a half minutes to go like Vrabel did on yesterday, but the defense was playing well. They were getting a lot of pressure on Carson Wentz. So Vrabel rolled the dice, went for 2 points early in that fourth quarter, and that really put the Indianapolis Colts behind the 8 ball. And then Vrabel also went for it on 4th down in the first quarter. I think we had like a 4th and 4 at the Indy 41-yard line. I believe it was on our 2nd or 3rd drive. They hit the big pass to Julio Jones, get down in the red zone, and get the first touchdown of the game. So shout out to Mike Vrabel for finally being aggressive and believing in his offense to convert on the 2-point conversion, because I wanted him to go for 2 last week at the end of the game against Seattle. He decided not to do it, but he did go for 2 on yesterday. And I was also listening to the Los Angeles Chargers coach. I believe his last name is Stanley, after the win against the Kansas City Chiefs. And he mentioned that when you're playing a really good team, you have to be aggressive as a coach. You don't want to be reckless. There's a fine line between being reckless and being aggressive. So I thought Vrabel did a very good job in being aggressive yesterday. Unlike Frank Reich. Frank Reich for the Colts, I think, has had a terrible season. He's one of those guys, in my opinion, that coaches reckless. He got that from Doug Peterson in Philadelphia, and that's why Doug Peterson, even though he won a Super Bowl, eventually got himself fired, going for it on too many 4th downs, going for it inside the red zone when it didn't make sense instead of just taking points. And Frank Reich in my opinion, has done a terrible job for the Indianapolis Colts this year, just being way too aggressive, way too reckless. We didn't see it a lot yesterday as far as fourth down going for it, but throughout the season, he has been terrible. And then also, when you look at Indianapolis statistically yesterday, Reich is getting a lot of heat on Indianapolis Twitter. He only ran Jonathan Taylor 10 times yesterday. Taylor averaged 6.5 yards per carry. You don't run a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who was a number one pick, second-round pick, and you only run him 10 times in a game where your quarterback comes in with 2 sprained ankles. That made no sense at all. The Colts threw the ball 37 times yesterday. They only ran it 18 times, and it's not like the Titans were blowing them out. The Titans should have blown them out if not for the turnovers, and we'll talk about that when we get to the good, the bad, and concerning. But Frank Wright, I thought, did a horrible job yesterday. I'm wondering what you guys thought about the coaching matchup, Mike Vrabel versus Frank Wright on yesterday. I thought that Mike Vrabel definitely won that matchup on yesterday. So let's see what you guys thought about that. Upload. I can't believe he's 0-3 on Titans game. Hey man, don't do predictions anymore. I know you got a lot of heat on yesterday, so stay out of the prediction business, my man. Titan Upload. Let's see what we got here. Reggie Smith is in the house. What's up, Reggie? Thank you for joining the show. Chad is in the house. Tighten up that like button. I appreciate you guys. Smash that like button for me. See, Ryan says Vrabel finally was aggressive. Hopefully he can continue that mindset going forward. And you're going to need it. I mean, you have the Jets and the Jags the next couple of weeks. You should be able to take care of business. But we're going to look deeper into the schedule because it gets really, really tough after the Jags and Jets the next couple of weeks. Sin City Titan in the house. What's up, Ken? What do you think about the wide receiver situation? Will we see anyone called up? Maybe Mason Kinsley. There is a distinct possibility of that. We're going to talk about that in the good, the bad, concerning as well. So hold off, Sin City. We're definitely going to address Mason Kinsley and Des Fitzpatrick and all of those guys on the list. Let's see. My man Ian in the house. I thought that was bizarre for the Colts to run Taylor Hines only 16 times. Terrible coaching on their end. And Hines always kills us. He had the touchdown run that got them back into the ball game, had a couple of nice catches out of the backfield. I just don't know how you go into a game and your quarterback is hampered and you decide to only run the football, essentially about 33% of the time. And shout out to the Titans defense because they really pressured Carson Wentz on yesterday. They knew he was immobile. They sent 5, they sent 4, they sent guys off the edges. They had a team high 12 quarterback pressures. That's the most against the Colts in 2 years. 12 quarterback pressures against the Colts on yesterday. And we'll get to a couple of more comments here in just a moment. But the second thing that I wanted to talk about from yesterday's ball game was comments after the game from your favorite Titan, and that would be Taylor Lewan. Taylor Lewan was not happy, I guess stemming from the first game against Arizona when he got hurt, went out of the ball game, came back in, and I guess some of the fans were booing after the new PA announcer, Taylor Lewan pointed out, indicated that, hey, Taylor's coming back in the game, and then the crowd started booing. So Taylor kind of let his thoughts be known in the post-game press conference yesterday that he was really hurt by that, that he felt like he's given a lot to this team. He's given a lot to the city of Nashville, and that he was deeply hurt by the boos that he heard coming his way in that game against Arizona. So if some of you guys were at the game, I'm wondering what your thoughts were. If you're in the Tennessee area, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on Taylor Lewan. Was it fair for the fans to boo him? I'm all okay with booing a player for poor performance. I'm okay with booing a player if he makes boneheaded mistakes like Taylor Lewan did early in his career when he would get a lot of personal foul penalties. It seemed that bad times for the Titans. But I understand that he's also been the anchor of our offensive line for the last 5 or 6 years as well. And he has done a lot for this team. Now, when you're on social media a lot, as much as Taylor Lewan is, you have to expect the trolls to come for you when you're not producing. So it goes both ways. If you're going to put you out there on social media, you got your podcast, which I definitely endorse. That's what we do here on YouTube. So I definitely don't want to take that away from him. But at the same time, if you're a Titans fan, you don't want to boo a guy that's injured. But if you're booing him for poor performance, and then Taylor, you have to suck that up, because all of us that are booing for you when you do bad, we're cheering for you when you do well. So don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. It's business. It's business for the fans as well, because they're spending their hard-earned money to go into the stadium. Same thing happened with Vince Young way back in the day. You know, we cheer him when he did well, boo him when he didn't do well. And I know Vince had a lot of issues with the fans there as well. So curious as to what you guys' thoughts are on Taylor Lewan. Obviously, he had a very, very good game yesterday. And he also mentioned that, hey, he's getting his confidence back. He felt more comfortable. It was his second game back after that major ACL tear. And it's a really, really a mental deal for players to get back on that field and have the confidence once they go through a significant injury like that. So I expect Taylor to get better as the season goes on. Curious what you guys' thoughts are on Taylor Lewan. So we'll hop back over, see what you guys thought. Let's see, Cincy. I don't know why they hate on him so much. He's got to be close. Next man up. Scroll up a little bit. Let's see. Upload. What is he in the practice squad? LOL. Okay, maybe they're talking about Mason Kinsey there. All right, so let's see what else we got. Ian. Okay, that was on the Colts. There's the one I wanted. Taylor just needs to lock in and focus on his game, not worry about anything else. And that's what you have to do, Taylor Lewan. Get off of social media. Or if you're going to be off of social media, turn off the comments. You know, you got to have rabbit ears when you're an NFL player. You can't react to if the crowd is booing you, if the crowd is cheering. You just got to focus on the guy in front of you. If the Titans are winning ball games, they're producing, the crowd is going to show up and show out for you. Kent Woods in the house. What's up, buddy? Glad you're here. Clowney Super Bowl. Don't see Lewan in Tennessee next year. It's possible. It's possible that this is the last year that we see Lewan and Saffold back with the Titans. Both of those guys, their dead cap numbers drop significantly in 2022. So it's possible that the Titans go to him and try to renegotiate his contract. But look, man, left tackles and right tackles, they're almost getting paid like quarterbacks now. So unless Lewan, God forbid, suffers another injury and, you know, misses the rest of the season or something like that, if he performs to his regular Pro Bowl level caliber, or maybe even just a step below that, I don't expect Lewan to take a pay cut. So he could try to renegotiate his deal, get a little bit more guaranteed money. So him and Roger Saffold are both in the same position. And shout out to Roger Saffold as well. He had a really, really good ball game on the left side of that offensive line. And Jeff Swain as well. I got on Jeff Swain a lot last week because he was absolutely horrible against the Seattle Seahawks. But he did a lot better on yesterday. So shout out to those three guys, Lewan, Roger Saffold, and Taylor Lewan. I think all of those guys did a really, really good job. Damon in the house, the way he was playing, did he want fans to cheer for him? Really? That's what I'm saying, man. You can't expect guys to cheer for you. One, when the team is getting beat, like they got beat by Arizona, and then they see, you know, Chandler Jones running around you like you're a lamppost. So you just gotta have a little bit more thicker skin than that. Just gotta have a little bit more thicker skin than that. All right, now coming up on the show next, One of my favorite segments. I know you guys like this as well because you guys participate a lot in this segment. The good, the bad, the concerning. Because as you guys know me, I'm all about that. If you are winning, don't ignore things in victory that you would not ignore in defeat. So pretend like you lost the game. You still coach up accordingly. You still criticize accordingly. And you look at the things that were both good, bad, and concerning as far as that. So we're going to take a look at that. Give me 1 second because I need to plug in my battery. So give me 1 second to do that so that I don't lose you guys completely. All right. So now make sure that we're juiced up. All right. Appreciate that. And we're back with you. So first, let's look at the good from yesterday. And the good for me yesterday was the Titans defense. I thought the Titans defense was outstanding. Probably the best they played in the last couple of years. And then we're going to pull up some numbers to illustrate that. All right, so here are the numbers from the game on yesterday. In case you guys haven't had a chance to look at the statistics of this ball game, the Titans really dominated this game statistically and obviously on the scoreboard. There's a couple of numbers on the left-hand side that really stood out to me. First and foremost was third down efficiency. We know that that's a place where the Titans have really struggled the entire last couple of years. 3 for 12, only 25% conversion rate for the Colts on yesterday. Now, the Colts did convert both of their fourth downs, but that 3 of 12, that was a really, really nice job by the Titans. And, of course, they only give up 265 yards of total offense. Anytime you can hold a team like Indy under 300 yards of total offense, especially considering you had 3 turnovers. And a lot of our turnovers happened on our own end of the field, which gave Indy longer drives possibly. So that's a really, really nice number. The 87 yards, now that was more Indy than us because they averaged like 6 yards a carry whenever they did run the football because we were concentrating on the pass. So that's really on Indy as far as that goes. And then also time of possession was really huge in this ball game as well, which we'll show you also. Time of possession down here at the bottom. Titans held the ball for 34 minutes yesterday to Indianapolis under 26 minutes. So that was huge for the Titans to dominate the ball, allow the defense to rest on the sideline. Offense continued to grind out drives, even though a couple of those ended in turnovers instead of points. But all in all, 12 quarterback pressures by the Titans yesterday, holding that offense to only 3 of 12 on third downs. And third downs, we know how critical those are. So really, really good job by the Titans defensively on yesterday. Now, as far as the bad, and we kind of just talked about it, it's the turnovers. The turnovers have been absolutely killing the Titans so far this year. They rank second to last in the NFL in turnover margin, right between the Jets and the Jaguars. The Titans are a -6 on the season. They have 7 turnovers, and they've only forced 1 interception. The Titans have not forced a fumble yet this year. So that is not a good thing at all for the Titans. They're really going to have to do better defensively. Shane Bowen is going to have to really coach up these guys. Now, we're playing a lot of backups right now on defense as well, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment as far as all the reserves that are in the lineup. So maybe guys are just concentrating on their assignments more so than they're concentrating on trying to strip the football. But on the offensive side of the football, Ryan Tannehill in particular, he can't be throwing bad interceptions like he threw on yesterday. He's lost a couple of fumbles this year. I'm really glad to see him protecting the football when he ran with it on yesterday. But the Titans really, really have to do a better job when it comes to the turnover battle. So, and then finally, on the good, the bad, the concerning, we'll talk about the injury situation. The Titans have a lot of injuries on both sides of the ball right now. The linebacking core on defense, the wide receiver core on offense are really battered. One of you guys asked about possibly Mason Kinsley coming up. Well, right now you have two receivers out. A.J. Brown, he's week to week. I would not expect to see him play this week. Josh Reynolds, he was inactive last week. First guy up was Cam Batson for Josh Reynolds. Now, if A.J. Brown goes out, I don't know if you go to Mason Kinsley, because Mason Kinsley and Cam Batson, they're very similar in stature. You kind of want those guys on reverses in the slot. Both of those guys kind of do the same thing. So the Titans may go to a bigger receiver. If Marcus Johnson is ready to come off of IR, I would expect him to be the first choice, or I would expect Dez Fitzpatrick, who's also a bigger receiver. If they have to have one of those guys replace A.J. Brown, I would expect it to be one of those larger receivers. On the defensive side of the ball, the linebacking core. Bud Dupree dressed yesterday, did not play. Rashard Weaver got hurt. Reports are he may have a broken fibula, which means he would be out probably anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks minimum. Derek Roberson didn't dress again. He was inactive. I'm not sure what's going on with Derek Roberson. And, of course, Jayon Brown, I think he may have played maybe like 6 or 7 snaps yesterday. They did not want to play him, but I think they were forced to play Jayon Brown a few snaps on yesterday. So get you guys comments on what you think about the good, the bad, the concerning, and just kind of see where we are on that. So let's start off with Reggie concerning A.J. Brown, something to keep an eye on, and especially when it's a soft tissue injury. Those are the worst. Those are the absolute worst for a receiver who obviously depends on running, has to be at full strength. So, it's going to be touch and go with AJ. He had a shaky start to the season. I think he's starting to get in his feelings a little bit too, because I saw him posting some stuff on social media. So, these guys, they're kind of feeling the pressure right now. Sin City, good for me. Ken was the depth on the team. I thought the Titans had a top-heavy roster. I was worried if the tight guys went down, who would step up. But yesterday put me at ease a little bit. And I talked a lot about this in the pregame show, in that, it's not who has the best 46-man roster. It's not who has the best 53-man roster. It's who has the best 69-man roster, because you got 16 guys on the practice squad. And I think J-Rob has done an excellent job in building the depth on this roster. We were very worried about that going into the season. I agree. I thought we were top-heavy. I didn't see the depth around us. But Coach Vrabel talked about, like, hey, man, we're going to have some tough decisions when it comes to cut down day. And we see those guys coming up from the practice squad and doing a good job. NWR Rogers, Adelie, McNichols all stepped up yesterday. Yep, all those guys did a great, great job on yesterday. Ryan in the house. Tannehill's turned the ball over a lot to start the season. Yeah, Tannehill starting. He played good yesterday. Had a couple of good runs, had the 3 touchdown passes, had that one horrible interception. I'm like, Lord, I hope the old Ryan Tannehill is not starting to reappear. But maybe taking him and Todd Downing a little bit to get on the same page like he and Arthur Smith were. So hopefully Tannehill can continue to improve week by week. 242 Titans backup player stepped up really good, and you have to have that. You definitely have to have that. Reggie talked about the turnovers, man. The turnovers, look, you're not going to win a lot of ball games. I think Indy really helped us out, as I mentioned on yesterday, but you can't count on that going forward. That's the number one stat in the NFL. And the bottom 3 teams I mentioned, the Jaguars and the Jets. And you don't want to be in that category, in any statistical category, let alone that come into the turnover issue. Went from first to worst in turnover differential. Man, I mean, because this is a team that typically forces a lot of turnovers. We take very good care of the football, don't fumble a lot. Now, a lot of that was on the offensive line, particularly in that Arizona game. So hopefully with the offensive line starting to gel a little bit more, get more healthy, that will alleviate that particular problem of Tannehill getting sacked and getting the strip fumbles. Keeping an eye on this Monday Night Football game, Cowboys leading late 27-14 over the Eagles. Let's see. Since the edge depth, a little concerning. Edge depth is going to be a challenge now. Adelier obviously played very well. So a lot of guys are just going to have to step up. May have to deal into the free agent pool if this keeps up with these outside linebackers. You hope that Bud Dupree will be healthy for the Jets game next week. And we saw Julio Jones not play late in the ball game. If Rabel really didn't address it, his press conferences are pretty much useless. I quit watching them because I don't get a lot of information that I really need. But of course, Julio Jones is going to be a player to watch coming up for the remainder of the month going into October. How much will he be able to play, particularly if A.J. Brown is not available? You know that teams are going to start the game plan for Julio Jones. They're going to shade coverage to his side of the field. So guys like Westbrook and Keener, who fumbled the football yesterday, he's going to have to learn to take care of the rock when he gets it. And then, of course, we talked about Cam Batson. And if we have to go to Marcus Johnson or Des Fitzpatrick, if one of those guys get called up, then, of course, we'll have to see what's going on with that as well. So a lot for the Titans to uncover, to deal with over the next couple of weeks. Now, what we also want to do tonight, obviously the Titans lead the division. They're in control right now. But we want to take a look at is the remaining schedule coming up in October, the immediate schedule for both the Colts and the Titans. Obviously, the Colts right now 0-3 on the season, and they are really, really in a bad place right now. First, we're going to take a look at the Titans, see what they need to do over the next 4 to 5 weeks to maintain their hold on the AFC South. Now, graphic came in a little bit big, so I apologize for that. A little bit chopped off a little bit. But let's look at the next 5 weeks for this schedule. And, of course, we want you to hit that subscribe button, tighten up that like button, smash the like button, hit that notification bell if you're new to the show. Also want to share out this video so that all the other Titans fans and Colts fans and Jaguars and Texans and whatnot can get involved in the show. But here's the next 5 weeks for the Tennessee Titans going into this 2-1. You got the Jets and the Jags, obviously, the next 2 weeks. You have to win both of those ball games. You have to come out of this stretch 4-1 because look at what's next after that. You got the Bills at home. They're starting to get right. They lost in week 1. They've won their last 2 games, just like Tennessee. Josh Allen starting to look like an MVP candidate. Kansas City is struggling right now. The Chiefs, they're going to be desperate by the time they get to Nissan Stadium on October 24th. So that's going to be a huge game. And then you go back to Indianapolis after that. So after these next 2 quote-unquote cupcakes, you have to be prepared to at least try to win 2 out of 3 games, in my opinion, against the Bills, Chiefs, and Colts if you really want to be in the race to try to get that number 1 seed in the AFC. Because right now, it's all about jockeying. You know, in horse racing, you enter that first, you're coming out of the first turn, you're going into the second turn, and you want to make sure you position yourself where you're not chasing at the end of the season. And right now, there's only 2 undefeated teams in the AFC, and they both reside in the AFC West. That's the Vegas Raiders and obviously the Denver Broncos. Neither of those teams are expected to be Super Bowl contenders, But right now, because of their schedule, they're undefeated. And of course, they still got San Diego and Kansas City they have to play. So what I'm trying to say is the AFC West, with 4 very good teams, they may beat up on themselves throughout this season. They may go 3-3 in their division. All 4 of those teams may beat up on each other and knock each other out of being in contention for the number 1 seed. That's where the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills come into play, and also the Cleveland Browns for that number 1 seed, because the Titans right now are playing in the weakest division. So they have to take advantage of that, like New England used to take advantage of the AFC East. New England would always go 6-0 or 5-1 in that division. Maybe every other season they would split with Miami. But most of the time they would go 6-0, run the table in that division. And that would set them up where if they went 6-4 outside the division, then all of a sudden you end up with a 12-4 record, you're the number 1 seed. So the Titans really, really have an opportunity to be in that number 1 seed conversation if they can take care of business in the month of October. Now, let's go in and take a look at the Indianapolis Colts schedule coming up over the next month or so. And obviously, we know that the Colts are in very desperate mode right now. They have a big game coming up next week against their old quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, and the Miami Dolphins. Jacoby Brissett had a pretty good game yesterday against the Raiders. The Dolphins were down by 11 points in the fourth quarter. Jacoby Brissett led them on a comeback, got them to overtime before the Raiders finally came out on top. But you look at the Colts schedule, 0-3. They go to Miami. Right now, that's a toss-up game. I thought last week with Tua being out and Miami getting shut out by Buffalo 35-0, that they had an opportunity to go down there and really get an easy win against Miami. But, hey, it's going to be warm. The humidity is going to be out. So that's going to be a very tough game. Then they backdoor that with a trip on Monday night, October 11th, to the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be another tough game for the Colts. So I can see them possibly beating Miami. I don't think they beat the Ravens at home. So I'm looking at the Colts probably being 1-4 after 5 games, where the Titans can be 4-1. Then they have the Texans. They should win that game. Then they go to San Francisco before they play the Titans. We know that San Francisco is a very physical football team. That's going to be a long trip to the West Coast for Indianapolis. So we hope that San Francisco can beat up on them before the Titans go play them on Halloween afternoon. Don't really want to be in Indianapolis on Halloween. There's a lot better places I'd rather be than Indianapolis on Halloween. So that's what the schedules look like for the month of October for the Colts, for the Titans. You hope the Titans can come out of this no worse than maybe 7-2, 6-3 at the absolute worst. And you hope that the Colts are pretty much out of it. And then we don't really have to worry about the Jaguars and the Texans at this point, unless something miraculously happens with the Texans, which I don't expect to happen. So your thoughts on the schedules, what you guys see coming up for the month of October. Just kind of get your guys' thoughts on that. Let's see if any new CJ Waller in the house. What's up? Thank you, sir, for joining the show. Please hit that subscribe button if you have not. Damon is in the house. We need Bud Dupree in December and January, not against an 0-2 team in September. I would agree with you. You want to save players if you can, but this isn't the NBA, right? You're not going to play the Houston Rockets right now, who don't have any really good players on their team, a bunch of young guys. So the NFL, man, you got to take every game seriously. There are a lot of near upsets this weekend. Teams came back and pulled it out. The Jaguars had a lead against Arizona because Cliff Kingsbury tried to screw the game up, and Kyler Murray threw a couple of interceptions. So you can't take any team lightly, particularly division games. But, yeah, I definitely understand. You definitely want to have him in December and January. Kent Woods, did he break his fibula yesterday? I think he's talking about Rashard Weaver. That was the initial report. We probably won't find out anything for sure, I would imagine, until Wednesday. I did not see a confirmation today. Neither, and the teams are off tomorrow, so we may not get any information until Wednesday on Rashard Weaver. But yeah, I would expect him to be out for a while. Ryan says he's expect Fitzpatrick to be called up over Kinsey. I would agree. Not saying that Fitzpatrick is better than Kinsey, but I think he can play that outside receiver role, and he's just a bigger target. But then he's also got to produce in practice, and we're not at practice. We don't know which of these guys are performing more. So we'll kind of have to wait and see how the week goes. Let's see here. Reggie, Tory Carter, fullback, called up for the practice squad. He played very well. Very good point. Tory Carter, I thought, came in, did a heck of a job on yesterday. Blasingame was inactive yesterday. I'm not sure what his injury was, but Tory Carter came in and did a tremendous job. And when you're a fullback, you don't have that many opportunities to show that you belong, because even if you're the starting fullback, as we saw with Blasingame has only been playing about 8 to 10 plays per game. So for Tory Carter to come in and limited action and lead up into the hole for Derrick Henry, that was very, very impressive by Carter. Cannot overlook the Jets. There's a similar situation with the Bengals last year. Winless team, rookie quarterback on the road. Very excellent point. You went into Cincinnati last year. They had Joe Burrow. Now, Cincinnati's a better team. They have more talent. But you thought going into Cincinnati last year that was going to be a cakewalk, and we got our heads handed to us. So you definitely don't want to go to New York next week with that same attitude. There probably won't be a lot of fans in the stand. There probably won't be a lot of energy in the stands for that game. It's an early kickoff in New York. The fans are very disgusted with the Jets right now and the Giants. So they're not happy about any football in New York. So the Titans are going to have to bring their own energy to that ball game. And as some of you guys mentioned, they got to get off to a quick start in that ball game. They can't, go in, let the Jets get a lead, and then try to have to battle from behind. That's what happened to the the Vegas Raiders on yesterday. They let Miami go in and get a 14-0 lead because Derek Carr throws a pick six. I think it was the tight end's fault who stopped on a route, but Carr throws a pick six. Miami goes down, gets another touchdown, and all of a sudden, the Raiders have to fight and scratch all the way into overtime to get that victory last week against Minnesota. So they're going to have to do a much, much better job when it comes to that. So, of course, we'll have our pregame show next Sunday morning. We'll have our pregame show 10:15 a.m. right here on the channel where we'll have our pick six predictions. We'll look at the matchups, and then we'll also get a sneak peek at the inactive list for both ball clubs so we can let you know who will be playing and who will not be playing. So that's about it for tonight. Again, our social media platforms, you can follow me at Kenmore Sports. You can also follow me on Twitter at Kmore Sports, but a huge, huge win for the Titans on yesterday. And then, of course, we definitely want you guys, if you have a Venmo account and you want to donate to the show, you can hit me up at Kenneth-Moore-8667 on Venmo if you would like to donate to the show. Get a couple of more comments in here before we get out tonight and let you guys get back to the Monday night game where Dallas is blowing out Philadelphia right now, which is very good for my pocketbook. Sin City, maybe we could be in the market for John Simon. You never know with J-Rob. A lot of teams are starting to make moves now. We saw the Jaguars trade away, I believe, C.J. Henderson, a former number one pick today, for a tight end. They're trying to help Trevor Lawrence out. So not sure what's going on in Jacksonville, but a lot of teams starting to make moves. Vrabel was valedictorian of the Belichick College of Press Conferences. Spent 15 minutes talking to the press and not saying anything when he's ticked off. Yeah, I quit even tuning in, man. I'll just read the tweets from Jim Wyatt or Teron Davenport and see what they report on it. But yeah, you're not going to get much. The most thing we got from a Mike Vrabel press conference since he's been here was about Julio Jones. And that was a shock to all of us. So that was the best thing there. Reggie, I don't think Pittsburgh makes the playoffs. Pittsburgh Steelers have been quite the disappointment for some. But I did want to mention this in just talking about different teams around the NFL when you guys are watching games. Because I record a lot of games and I'll go back and watch them on Tuesday or Wednesday when there's nothing on. Pittsburgh Steelers, they have a brand new offensive line. The offensive line is not good. They have a great running back in Najee Harris, who went to Alabama. He's kind of a smaller version of Derrick Henry, if you will. But they can't run the football because they have a new offensive line that's not very good. It's kind of the same way in Kansas City. They have 4 new offensive linemen in Kansas City. They've had trouble running the football, sustaining drives. They've been getting behind in ball games. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all of a sudden, he has a fumbling problem. He's fumbled the last 2 weeks. The Jets, they can't run the football. So that's why Zach Wilson is running around for his life. And I did have a number on Zach Wilson. He's been sacked 15 times already this year. That's an average of 5 sacks per game. That doesn't even count how many times he gets hit. So, these are the type of teams when you're looking at stats or whatnot, go and look at the rushing numbers, the rushing attempts, the ratio of how much a team throws to how much they run the football. The Colts, now the Colts are an anomaly, right? Because they actually have a good running game and they won't use it, I guess, because they're trying to justify the trade for Carson Wentz. So I don't know. We'll see what's up with that. Big boy, thank you for joining, man. Big dog, respect to you as well. Oscar Vega chiming in, tighten up, man. Huge win. Great to go to 2-1 on the season. Any word on Ficken? Good question. No word on Ficken. However, what I did hear after his injury going into the season is that it may be a significant injury, like not just a tweak growing, like it may just be an actual pull of the hamstring or groin, where Ficken could be out half the season. He could be out half the season. So I would not expect Ficken back anytime soon. Now, maybe he's had a real tremendous recovery over the last 3 weeks, and he can come back sooner than expected. But I would not expect to see Ficken back probably before midseason. And shout out to Randy Bullock, who has actually been doing a good job. He's only missed 1 kick so far. He's made all of his extra points. So shout out to Randy Bullock. Not a big fan, but hey, as long as he's kicking the ball through the upright, good for him. Are you still covering SWAC football? Yes, sir. I have a game on ESPN3 this weekend, Texas Southern University at 2 o'clock on ESPN3. So, yes, you guys can check me out. I'll be covering SWAC football. Schedules kind of week to week, not exactly sure what games I'll be doing down the line, but this Saturday afternoon, I will be doing SWAC football for Texas Southern University, 2 o'clock kickoff. So, guys, join me on ESPN3 for that. Alcorn, all right, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Steve McNair alma mater, so that's always all good. I used to go to Alcorn a lot, Steve's senior year. And I saw a couple of games down at Alcorn when McNair and when his brother was playing quarterback. So didn't know he was going to be as great as he was. But when the Oilers drafted him, man, I was extremely happy that I got to see him in college and then also got to see him in the NFL. And then he goes to my favorite team. And, yeah, he's right behind me up there on the wall. So shout out to Steve McNair. And, of course, today is 9/27 day. September 27th, Eddie George, 27, Steve McNair, 9. So shout out to those guys. Happy September 27th, 9/27 day. So put that on your calendar for next year, 9/27 day, Eddie George, Steve McNair Day. In Tennessee State is the real TSU. Hey, they both can share it, man. They both can share it. Just like UT, University of Texas is the real UT instead of University of Tennessee. So TSU, it'd be cool if they played each other, right? Get TSU against TSU. That would be pretty cool as well. I miss what happened with Julio. We all miss what happened with Julio. We don't know what happened with Julio. Vrabel said it was not performance and it wasn't an injury. So maybe it's just he was playing Kawhi Leonard, load management. He had X amount of plays he was going to play, and that was it. So we'll find out if Julio will be able to honor more of the workload as we get deeper into the season. We definitely need him in December and January. And, man, it's a long way to the bye week. The Titans don't have a bye week, I think, until week 12 or week 13. So Vrabel and John Robinson, they're going to have to jump through some hoops and try to get this team in and out of these games. And look, every team around the league is going through this. Again, we got the Jets coming up next week. Every team in the league is dealing with injuries. And what my message is to fans is two players you always have to be concerned about. Your quarterback and then your second best player. So like for Pittsburgh, that's TJ Watt. TJ Watt was out yesterday. That hurt them big time. He couldn't help their offense, but if TJ Watt is out there, he can force things to happen defensively. He can force a sack, force a fumble that'll get the ball back to the offense. For Tennessee, that's Derrick Henry because we don't really have a real good number two. Jeremy McNichols has been very good. He looks like he's improved. He's excellent out of the backfield, but we haven't seen us being able to depend on Jeremy McNichols or Sargent to this point to be able to run the football with effectiveness, protect Tannehill when he's in the pocket to pick up those third down blitzes. So when you see other guys go down, don't panic. That's why you have a practice squad. Next man up. The Titans have really good depth. A lot of teams in the NFL don't have really good depth. Let's see. Sorry about that. We got Steve in the house. We definitely need to manage these guys, get to the playoffs healthy. Long way to go. And like I said, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you want to make sure that these guys are getting rest during the week. You're not putting them through a lot of practice. Make sure that they're staying healthy. And then obviously a lot of the Titans guys are vaccinated, so we really shouldn't have that problem. Hopefully going forward, knock on wood. So, hopefully they can keep that going. Let's see. Kent, he said that he was getting tight, so he took him out to prevent injury to Julio. Okay. All right. I did not hear that. I did not listen to the press conference, but if he was feeling a little tightness, I saw him limping a little bit on the sideline after one tackle. So again, hopefully these guys will be doing well going into the Jets game. Hopefully you want to go in there, you want to take care of business so that in the fourth quarter you can take your starters out. That's ideally how you want to play that. Go in, score early, get up, 21-0, 28-0, 24-0. So once you get into the fourth quarter, you can take some of your offensive linemen out, take out some of those defensive guys. Oh, by the way, we haven't talked about it. How do you guys feel about seeing Corey Davis this week? Corey Davis had a great preseason. But right now, I'm going to try to pull up Corey's stats because I know the Jets have really been struggling offensively as a unit because their offensive line is terrible. But I don't even think Corey Davis is the leading receiver for the Jets right now. On yesterday, he had 5 catches for 41 yards, no touchdowns. Let me take a look at his game log. So against New England, Corey only had 2 catches for 8 yards. And in the opener against Carolina, he did have a good game there. He had 5 catches for 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. So we get a chance to see Corey Davis next week. You guys satisfied with Julio? Do you wish Corey was still here? He's been healthy. He's been able to play. But again, working with the rookie quarterback, and I feared this for Corey going to the Jets, is that people are going to look at his statistics at the end of the year, and they're going to compare that to the contract that he signed with New York. And for Corey, and they're going to say he's not producing. But for Corey, financially, obviously, he made the right decision. I don't know if he had other suitors in free agency, but the last thing I would have wanted to do for my career professionally, not financially, but professionally, was go start over with another rookie quarterback, because he went through that with Marcus Mariota for 4 years before he got Ryan Tannehill. Then you finally got a good quarterback, and you saw what Corey Davis could do. But now, with New York, his stats are going to be decreased. New York media may start getting on him for not being productive enough, but the Jets just don't have an offensive line. They don't have a good defense. They don't have a good offense. They're just a bad, bad football team. And it's going to be tough for Corey, unfortunately. Now, look, they say money can't buy happiness. I hope it can buy happiness for Corey, because that's about all he's going to have over the next couple of years in New York, man, because it is not pretty for the Jets right now. Steve in the house. Steve says, I love Corey except for next week. I agree. I'm hoping he doesn't do much against his former team. And before we go, I did want to address the secondary for the Titans. Christian Fulton getting a whole lot of love around the NFL. Christian Fulton may be on his way to being a Pro Bowl cornerback this year. When he went down on yesterday, Breon Borders got in the ball game late in the fourth quarter, make a couple of really, really nice plays in the red zone defensively. So I was happy to see Breon Borders get some time and get some work in on yesterday. And I can't say enough about Cruikshank. Starting free safety now. He was third on the depth chart going into the season behind Hooker and behind McDougal. But he's done really, really nice job after he was inserted at halftime of the Seattle game. He's done a really, really, really good job for Cruikshank. So good job by those guys. Well, guys, we are an hour in. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Another great, great show. Appreciate you guys coming in. I appreciate it. If you guys would just do me a favor, share the video out on your social media platforms. We want to increase that subscription count, get it up to where it needs to be. We want to get the 4 digits. We want to get up to 1,000. So if you guys can help me out with that, that would be tremendous. So the Titans beat the Colts 25-16. They go to 2-1 on the season. Next week, they will take on the New York Jets in the Meadowlands. I know a lot of people were talking about going to that game. From what I understand, tickets are pretty inexpensive for that ball game in New York next week. So you guys may be able to get a really good deal if you want to go check out your Titans in New York City next week. So thank all you guys for joining the show tonight. Join in Sunday morning, 10:15 a.m. We'll have the complete breakdown of the Jets game. We'll look at the inactive report. And, of course, we'll have our Pick 6 picks. You guys have a great night. And, as always, tighten up.